Roy Lee would return to the same platform, Real Life Productions, with another interview that aired on YouTube on November 3rd, 2017. But this time, things began escalating beyond conversation of simply fighting. Roy Lee appeared to be frustrated with what seemed to him like cowardice from Yella Beezy. In a moment of agitation, Roy Lee let it be known that while he was not trying to pick up a gun to settle their grievances, he can also go that route and find grandmothers and mothers, as Yella Beezy appeared not about fighting, but shooting.
But you don't want to fight because you ain't got nothing from here. I'm talking about from here. I ain't talking about from here. That's easy. Yeah, nigga, I just got out of jail.
Things would go down a dark road. Something that began as what most civilians would consider simple. Someone like Yella Beezy and Roy Lee that came up among gang culture in vice-ridden environments took it as a sign of disrespect that needed answering for. No matter how much Roy Lee tried, even getting on a three-way call with the proposition to fight, Yella Beezy turned down the request. A couple months would pass. Roy Lee would again be a guest on the platform Real Life Productions from a January 24th, 2018 aired interview. On the stage, he also had with him his two nephews, one who was pursuing a career in rapping, and the other had the skills of a boxer. They would break down how the altercation went at the club, as they were there when it happened. The real story had a few more details. The main one being that Roy Lee, who was a frequent drinker, was drunk on the night and initiated the confrontation when he was questioning patrons if they were there with Yella Beezy, as he was looking for him. Yella Beezy would catch wind of the commotion and sneak around Roy Lee with the punch he dodged. After which, his nephew claimed about 9 persons of Yella Beezy's entourage was attacking Roy Lee after knocking him to the ground, and that was when they stepped in and got him out of there. Even though it was an unfair ambush, from the new account of what transpired that night, Roy Lee's lack of judgment from being drunk was at the root of the problem, instigating things more than it needed to be.
Do you think this all could have been avoided if Roy Lee just quit drinking so much?
It could have. Right, you got a point right there.
Roy Lee was a comedian, yes, but he was raised around the street culture, engaged in criminal activities, and served jail time. So he still moved with a sense of danger that even deterred previous security personnel from being his bodyguard.
Nah, security guard told me that. Security guard told me that because when we go to V-Line, and then we was getting into it with people, he said, man, I don't think I could be your bodyguard. You doing too much.
It was all fun and games, but someone was looking on, unimpressed with anger in their heart towards Roy Lee. All the while, persons like his nephew was trying to advise him to just let the feud go and forgive. But Roy Lee insisted that if the fight doesn't happen, then nothing can be forgiven. But maybe that was the error in Roy Lee's decision that placed him in harm's way. September 25th, 2018, the beginning of the end was set into motion when Roy Lee was shot. Lying in a hospital bed, he broke down what happened that night. At around 7:50 p.m., Roy Lee was now about to leave from the parking lot of Texaco on Preston Road after grabbing something to eat at one of his favorite barbecue spots. His shooter was likely tailing him and monitoring his whereabouts from Shell's location right across the street. Roy Lee would glimpse a figure approaching, and when he looked up, all he could see was a person in a hoodie before the shooting rang out. 3 shots were fired, with one hitting him in the leg, breaking the bone. Roy Lee underwent surgery, and after a few days was released from the hospital. He was back in good spirits, arguing with a friend tied into the gang culture about calling the police and not him after he was shot. From his post to his Facebook account, it seemed like Roy Lee had a new appreciation for life and was ready to bury the hatchet with his past feuds. He nearly lost his life, and as all things appeared, he dodged a bullet while at the same time receiving one. He went on to continue doing shows over the next week and some days. October 12, 2018, Roy Lee was scheduled to perform at a stand-up comedy show at Heritage Hall, Paris, Texas. He would go live on Facebook, driving on his way to the event, happy, smiling, and listening to music, having a good time. Lee appeared back, and better than ever, but that's what made the news that came next so tragic. Roy Lee had a great show, but it would be his last. It was like fate already knew it was his time and allowed him one last show as a send-off, because the show was on Friday, and Saturday, news broke that Roy Lee passed away from complications of the shooting he sustained weeks earlier. His complications led to him developing a blood clot in his lungs before he could undergo the surgery he had scheduled the following day to rectify the issue. He passed. Roy Lee was so close to surviving, but things didn't turn out that way.
He didn't die in the hospital. He got out the hospital. He got back on. He started moving around. He was back doing his shows and shit. Taking his medicine, got a blood clot.
His passing shook up the entire community, but the one whose life was forever damaged by his passing was his best friend turned brother, MO3, who fell into dark times.
So how did that affect you when he passed away?
Fucked me up. Still can't believe my nigga dead. You know, he a comedian.
Roy Lee's passing ignited the feud between MO3 and Yella Beezy even more.
The shit escalated when Roy Lee passed. Roy Lee just wanted to have a one-on-one fight with Yella Beezy.
Ultimately, Yella Beezy would be targeted by rivals, being shot 4 times.
How many times were you shot? 4 times?
Unfortunately, MO3 was also shot, but unlike his rival Yella Beezy, he didn't survive his wounds. Such a sad tale of lives lost to a cycle that seems to never end. Rest in peace, Roy Lee Pate.